Hello.
Yeah, good morning, Shweta.
Good morning.
Let's wait others to join. What problem you are facing?
Actually, there is no link to join there.
Okay, okay,
Yesterday we saw that link on the dashboard only, but
okay.
today that link is not visible.
Mm-hmm.
Clicked on that live session for
Recording it is
माइक
taking.
और से हाँ तो मैंने लाइव सेशन के अंदर जा जाके फिर एक जूम की मुझे लिंक मिली तो
Uh-huh.
मैंने वो डायरेक्टली ब्राउजर में पेस्ट की तो आई वाज एबल टू
So
जॉइन.
one work with Shweta because I am also new to this LMS system of Radical. Earlier they were doing with like normal. Now they have upgraded. So even these people are new. What you do is now you can just paste that link in the chat box of WhatsApp so that others can also join.
Yes, yes, yes. I'm
Uh-huh.
just doing that.
Paste it. Okay. So who is left now? Suhas is left now. Okay, so until Suhas join, what we will do, we will just do a 5 minutes recap of what we have studied yesterday, then we'll move forward. Okay, okay. So now everybody have the installation, Sachin, Saloni, Shweta, all three of you? Yeah?
Yes, yes.
Okay, okay, good. So I think Shariu is the new candidate. She is trying to join. Let's see. Okay. So before we start, Saloni, you had a concern, no? Like what is the difference between the expressor and the difference between the developer, right?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
So see, Saloni, what happens is when we work in IT companies, let's say, I mean, industry level, we always use an enterprise version of SQL Server. This is not only for SQL, any databases which you have, we'll always go for the enterprise version. Now, what is the difference between enterprise version at free, what we say, enterprise, then it is express and developer. So enterprise is a license version where the company would be paying and they will be getting the entire kit of the SQL Server. Okay, the capacity would be more, the security would be better, and things like that. Now talking about the expressor edition and the developer edition. So developer is again developer and expressor both are again nothing but this, they are the subset of the enterprise edition where you can do everything. You can do your query, you can retrieve the data, you can handle the data, but the handling capacity is not as huge as compared to the paid enterprise version. That is one difference. Now the difference between developer and expressor is expressor edition have limited functionality if you compare it with the developer. So limited in the sense, maybe if there are 40 functionality available in the developer, in the expressor there might be 36, 37. That's the only difference. So you can go with any one of that, it's not a problem. Both of them will be a free version, trial versions. Okay, but when you work with the live projects in an organization, they'll give you the enterprise license paid version. Okay, got it?
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, so Sharayu, are you able to, view the screen and am I audible correctly to you? Because I cannot see your mic here, so I'm not sure whether you have joined in correctly or not. Okay, Saloni, you're clear? Okay, so then let's move to the quick recap of what we have seen yesterday. So yesterday we have seen what is databases, SQL. Then we have seen how do we create a database, how can we create a table. So this three things we have covered. Now today we will see different commands which we have. Okay, and we after seeing this command we will check how do we insert data in the table. So everybody have done like installation apart from this three. What's your name? It's not Shweta. So Sharayu, do you have the installation of SQL Server? Okay, no, I'm not sure why your mic is not there. Okay, anyways, so others yesterday who were there in the session, you all have done creating of the table, you all have done creating of the database. Everything is good till here.
So I have just installed the software but not executed any command.
Okay, so Shweta, please do it today so that you are on in line with us, like what we are
Yes,
doing. Okay, so
yes,
just
yes.
get it done today because from today I'll start posting the assignments into that LMS portal only. There won't be any mail system. So just go and check the LMS system. Maybe by 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, I'll be sending a small assignment where you can create table, you can create the database, you can insert and then start doing that assignment. Okay, now yesterday what else we have seen? We have seen what is a raw data. So raw data is usually it comes in the three formats. It can be non-structured, semi-structured and completely unstructured. Okay, now yesterday somebody had a concern like can we segregate this into a percentage? Okay, so non-structured, unstructured. So the other thing non-structured semi-structured, I can make it completely unstructured. And then we can put a percentage of what is happening in current IT section. Okay, so semi-structured is only 10% of data what we get. And completely, let me make it okay, give me a second. Let me make it semi-structured. Okay, again, semi-structured is 10%, and 80% of the data what we are receiving in today's IT world from the companies is 80% of completely unstructured data. Only 10% of semi-structured data we have. Okay, and the remaining will be going here. Okay, completely unstructured, semi-structured, and structured. Now if you want me to give an example of completely unstructured, that means data which we are getting from your live feeds, that is your Facebook, your Twitter, your online websites, your e-commerce website. So examples are Amazon, Flipkart, right? So all these places wherever there are live feeds going on, that data is completely unstructured. So in today's era, the data which we get from clients is 80% unstructured, 10% semi-structured, and remaining 10% is structured. Now completely unstructured data. That is why it is a requirement to understand SQL, Excel, your databases, because unless you do not know how do you convert your semi-structured data, unstructured data to a meaningful insight, before that you cannot move to your visualization tool and start creating your dashboard. So analysis is very important, and that is what the drawback of today's, I think since last 3-4 years, that is what is happening. We are dealing mostly with the unstructured data. So in the upcoming classes, when we go with Power BI, I'll help you understand how can you do transformation of the data. So there are various ways of transforming the data. We'll see them one by one. Okay, again coming back to yesterday's session, so we have seen what is a database. Okay, then how do we create a database, how do we create tables inside a database, and today we will see how do we add rows and columns to the table which we have created. Okay, now then yesterday also we have covered the position of where SQL is going to help you. So SQL is going to act as a mediator. It is acting as a communicator between your database and the user. So we are the users, right? We are the developers. The developer can be normal Power BI developer. The user can be a local user. Also, the user can be the what we say, the data warehouse developer, or the admin can also be the user. So there can be multiple users, and there will be a database. So where is SQL going to help you? So the full form of SQL is structured query language. Right? The name itself is saying structured query language. Right? So SQL is going to be a mediator where we are going to send the request, and the database is going to get you the result out of it. Okay. Now coming to database syntax. So yesterday we have covered how do you create a database. So the syntax is very easy. Create database followed with a database name. So what it is going to help you, the create database statement is used to create a new SQL database. So we have already created a database yesterday. Database structure of SQL Server Management Studio. This is how it looks. So on the left hand side we have the Object Explorer, and on the right hand side it is known as the Canvas or the Query Editor section. So yesterday we have created a test database. Okay, now moving back, and then we have created a table. So the syntax for create table is create table name followed with the column and data type. Why create table name? Because this is the name we want to give to the table, and we want that table to be created. That is why the syntax is create table name. Table name yesterday was orders table. Today we will create customers table, persons table. So this is how you can start creating the table once your database is ready. Now, once the table is created, what do we want to add in the table? We need to add columns. So you can add n number of columns. There is no limitation as such. Definitely there would be a stop. But then yeah, you can keep on adding 30, 40, 50 columns, right? So column number 1 followed with the data type. Column number 2 followed with the data type. So this will go on. Now description is the create table statement is used to create a new table in the database. Okay. So yesterday I also gave you example. See, you are purchasing a land. So land is nothing but your database. Okay. On that land, what you're doing, you're going and creating your apartment. So apartment is nothing but your table. In that apartment, what you're creating multiple rooms, you're creating multiple balconies. So those rooms and balconies are nothing but they are the addition of rows and columns. Okay, so this is what we have seen. Then once we are done with these two statements, create database, create table, one statement that should be always handy with you, that is select star from table name or select star from column name, because this select statement is going to tell you what you have already created, so that you don't need to always go and follow this. Otherwise, if you do not use the select statement, what will happen? You always have to follow this, whether the table is created or not, whether the columns are added or not. So this is what the process you have to follow. But if I write a select statement, select star from, so what is the name of my table? I can also drag and drop it from here. Okay, what, this is one way of doing it. If you don't want to drag it, you can also write it from here. Okay, so I can simply write orders and I can just pick it from the bottom section. Okay, so let me see why there's an error. Let me refresh it once. Okay, so the error says, one second, invalid object name orders. It's orders only. Others, check for you also. Are you also getting an error? This is just because of the trial version. The table is already there, but still it is giving me an error. Okay, let me refresh it. People who were there yesterday, try executing the SQL query, which is saying select star from orders. Let me know if it gets executed. It should not give you error. Otherwise, we'll have to recreate it. Okay, it is saying invalid object name. It is same for others, Saloni, Suha, Sachin. Or are you able to execute it?
I've changed the database.
Huh?
Showing the master database.
No. Be louder.
It's showing the master database. Change the database to the test database.
Okay, test database. Okay, let me fire this thing if I have data here. Okay, fine. I can see the data here. Okay, not sure why this is happening. Okay, anyways, so let's go back and just do a recap once again here. So see, select is how you can use the select statement. So the customer table is already created under My Coachix. So what is My Coachix? People who are new today. So this is the icon which you see is just an icon which is saying that this is the database. This is your land, and the name of the land is, the name of the database is My Coachix. Under that database, under the table section, what we have done, we have created a customer table. So if I want to see whether a table is created or not, I can simply use my select statement, select star from. So DBO is nothing but the database object. Either you can drag and drop this object from here, or you can simply write it also. Both the ways, both are correct, and you can write it from here. Okay, and now you can do a control A and execute. So the short form is a control F5, and other ways you can select and just do execution here. Okay, now what I can see is there are multiple columns added to this table. That is why I can see under customers table we have so many columns added, and also I can see the data which is inserted there. Okay, so now today what we are going to do is we are going to insert the data. That is, we are going to insert rows and columns to the data there. Now before going to insertion, let's understand what a select statement is going to help you. The select statement is used to select the data from a database. Okay, the data returned is stored in a result table called as a result set. Yes, because see, if you just forget about this row which is saying 101 Ram Joy, just concentrate on a header name. So this is what, this is nothing but a result set which is coming under the result section. That is what the statement is telling you. So with the help of select, you can select multiple data. You can also give conditions. Select customer where the customer ID is 101. Select the customer who lives in Banet. So we can give multiple conditions with the help of select, and we can get the data. That is what basically developers and users do. There are lots of databases, there are lots of tables. So whatever data they want to fetch and they want to analyze, based on that, they will write multiple multiple select conditions using your SQL, and you will get the data. Okay, now going and inserting data. Okay, so everybody, let's get back to your SQL server. So Bhargavi, do you also have the installation, or it is only Shweta who does not have? You have it with you?
नहीं मेरा भी नहीं हुआ है. कल पूरा इंस्टॉलेशन हुआ था. इंस्टॉलेशन कंप्लीटेड करके मैसेज आया, फिर भी वो एसक्यूएल सर्वर लैपटॉप में नहीं दिख रहा.
नहीं दिख रहा.
नहीं,
Yes, ma'am, same.
किसके लिए सेम सलोनी के लिए नहीं सेटअप तो दिखना चाहिए सी आई टेल यू वेयर यू सी द सेटअप go to downloads in downloads only you get the setup wait
मैं भी फिर से
see,
मॉर्निंग से इंस्टॉलेशन
this
कर
is
रहा
how
हूँ.
the setup you should see I have both the setups ऐसे setup दिखना चाहिए आपको बस उसको इंस्टॉल ही करना है फिर okay just
Okay.
check the downloads one and just usko right click karke you have to just follow the steps hardly 3-4 steps are there after you have the setup in your this download section okay ठीक है
Okay.
हाँ okay so okay so everybody have this table created test data let's fire a query once for me it is not working I'll work with a different set so Suhas, Saloni and other two yes just fire the query and see select star from orders for now what I'll do is I'll drop this table you all don't fire this query I'm firing it for me because it does not exist why it does not exist it's already there okay so I'm just dropping this database I'll just recreate it quickly so this is the drop command how you can drop the databases if not needed and you can keep on recreating them okay okay so I'm creating a new database so people who are new today this is how we create a new database create database followed with the database name okay so this is the first syntax second is once the database is ready you need to create the table okay so the syntax for create table is create table name so again I'm giving the table name as orders okay so this is followed with open brackets and closed bracket so this is the name of the table which I want to create under the Radical Training database. Okay, so the orders table will be created, but we do not create the table as a alone, as a single. We need to add the columns there. So we can just add columns. So anybody can help me? What were the columns which we had added yesterday? We had order ID, correct? Next, what was the name?
Customer ID.
Customer ID. Customer underscore ID followed with the integer. Next.
Customer name.
Customer. Okay, we had customer name. Okay, let's not have customer name under orders. For example, I'll have the product name. Product underscore name. And the product name is what? It's a string value. So we can give it as a variable character. Okay, and then I'll execute it. So people who are new today, Sharayu and Bhargav, right? What's a good name, Bhargavi? Is it a surname or name?
Sorry, I'm using Bhargavi's laptop. My name is Sharayu only.
Okay, Sharayu only. Okay, Sharayu. So I'm just doing it once again for you. So see, you're clear till here. How do you create a database? Create database name. Then once the database is created, you're trying to add the table there. So this is the syntax for the table. See, create table name followed with the columns 1, 2, 3 columns, and each of the columns should have a data type. So say yesterday we have worked on like couple of data types. Okay, you can see the recording for yesterday. So now what is the data type for order ID? It's ID, so it will be an integer. Customer ID, again it's ID, it will be an integer value. Okay, again product name, so product name is nothing but a character, it has their string value, so we can put it under character or variable character, either of the one. We usually deal with character because you have more spacing, more sizing. Okay, now so yesterday we have done till here. Now there is one more level. When you work with creating the column structure, you can put constraints here. So there are 3 types of constraints. I'll just highlight you the constraints here, and then you can start doing it. Okay, so there are constraints, and there are 3 types of constraint which we have. So one constraint is known as null, second is your not null, then you have the primary key, and next you have the foreign key. Okay, so these are 4. Then also you have a check constraint, but usually what is required are the first 4. Okay, so you can make a note of this 4 constraint. We will be using this constraint with combination of your data type. That is why I added this constraint just below the data types: null, not null, primary key, and the foreign key. Okay, shall I move to the SQL Server once again? Constraints which are going to be added with your data type, that is null, not null, primary key, foreign key, and check. So check is what we don't need to worry now. The first 4 we are going to focus. Okay, so I'm moving back to the databases. Now create table orders. First column should be your order ID. It should be an integer type. Okay, second column should be customer ID, again an integer type. Third column should be a product name, again an integer type. Now if you can see, if I go and add the syntax here, in the syntax, after the column name and a data type, it should be followed with a constraint. Okay, so we can add multiple constraint here. So this will be your constraint 1. So see, constraint is optional, but what is mandatory? Column name and data type is mandatory. If you do not give a data type, the tool will not understand like what data type you want for first name, what is the data type you want for the age, for the salary. So data types are very important, but constraint is something which you can just ignore it. But then as a best practice, or you can say as a standardized practice, it is good to give a constraint. Now we have 4 constraints. What constraints we are working with? We have null, not null, and primary key, foreign key. So primary key, foreign key, these 2 go hand in hand. So we will be working on both of them together. Now we will just work with null and not null. So you all understand what is null, not null? किसी को पता है meaning कि null, not null क्या होता है? Normal mathematics. Yes. Null means what? And not null means
that
what?
column can be empty.
Correct.
Means we are putting a condition.
Exactly, it's a condition. And not null means?
It is compulsory to add a value.
Exactly. So that is what we are putting a condition here. It should be not null. Okay. Again, customer ID, it should be not null. It depends. What do you want? And product name. Product name, okay, fine. If I want to put a null here. So these are what, as correctly said, not null, null, primary key, foreign key. So currently we are just talking about not null and null. So these 2 are again constraints, but these constraints are optional. If you want to add it when you're creating a table, you can do it. If you want to ignore the conditions when you're creating a table, it is completely up to the developer. So these tables I've told you yesterday also, we are not going to create these tables because again we are mainly a data analyst. We are mainly going to be the front end Power BI developer. So these things, who needs to pay attention? The data warehousing developer, the people who are going to design the table for us. So how do they decide? So they also always try to follow a standardized manner. So they usually go and put constraint. The reason one is we are putting condition. Second thing is, let's say Saloni is the developer today. She is creating a table orders. Tomorrow she is not working in the company. I am coming and taking her work forward. So what I can do is, if she have not put any constraint that is not null, I can keep on adding anything which is not even correct, and the table will start picking up. Even if it is string value, by mistake, if I'm adding anything which is alphanumeric means combination of a string and character. That means, see, for example, if you have the flight number, what is the number? P and Q, 1, 2, 3, 4. So these are known as the alphanumeric value. So if the order ID is INT, if I'm putting 1, 2, 3, immediately I ended up putting PQ 1, 2, 3, 4. So what I'm doing, just because there is no constraint, no condition, I am adding anything which I'm feeling is correct, but that is not the correct way of updating your databases. Okay, so that is why people who are dealing with the databases, they always follow a standardized practice and they try to keep the constraints, but we can ignore if needed. Okay, so I've added 3 constraints here: not null, and null. And what I'm doing is I'm going and executing. So before execution, as we remember, I have multiple databases created here. So the tool will not understand that where this orders table needs to be created. So it might create under Cochex, it might create under MySQL, or by default where the tables gets created if you're not providing a suitable database, under system databases, masters. But we don't want this to happen. So what syntax we have? We have the syntax which says use. Under use, you're highlighting the database where you want the tables to be created. Correct? So I am saying I want my orders table to be created only under the Radical Training database. So I'm executing this. Okay, and then I will be executing this table. Okay, now let's do a select statement and let's check whether the table is created or not. So select star from orders. So this is again the handy query which we have, and I'm executing it. So can everybody see we have 3 tables created? So this is what we have done yesterday. Now what we are going to do is we are going to insert the data into this table. So now let's go and understand the syntax for insert. So what is insert? Insert rows and columns. So let's see the syntax. So the syntax is insert into. So I'll explain you how to remember the syntax. हमको कहाँ insert करना है? Database बना हुआ है, table बना हुआ है, table में columns भी बने हुए हैं. तो हमें कहाँ insert करना है? वो table के columns में. So insert into table name, okay, and table name and the column. So what columns we have? For example, I'm just naming the column as column 1, column 2, column 3. So this is my column 1, this is my column 2, this is my column 3, and so on. We can have multiple columns. Okay, so insert into table name and these columns, followed with what we are going to add. We are going to add the values to this column, right? So the values would be, it will be your value 1. The sequence should be same. I'll tell you how. So if at the first position you have order ID, here the data should be for order ID only. If the sequence here is product ID at the 3rd level, so this will be a product ID and the value 3 will be for product ID only. Okay, if you're doing a mistake there, the tool will fire error messages. Okay, so this can keep on changing. Okay, so if you're making a note of it, again, I'll just wait here for a minute and then we can go to databases and we can fire the query there. Okay, so syntax is insert into table name, then what are the columns, and under that columns, we will be highlighting the values which we want to insert. Okay. Okay, it can be followed with a semicolon, doesn't matter. Even if you're putting it, not putting it, it should work ideally. Okay, so what is the important keyword you need to remember? So if you're adding values in the columns of the table, but if you do not specify the column names, see what you're doing is you're adding this column, but if no column name is specified, it might give you error. But in enterprise version, what happens is even if you're not giving this particular section, अगर आपने ये omit कर दिया, आपने सिर्फ इतना ही लिखा insert into table name और values दे दिया, तो उसमें ले लेगा. But generally developer और edition version में ऐसे होता है, आपको explicitly mention ही करना पड़ता है column 1, column 2, column 3, है ना? And the sequence should be followed. What is very important here? You need to make sure the order of the values is in the same order as per the order of the columns in the table. Otherwise, you'll get a error messages. Okay, now let's go and create it. Let me create it once, then others can just do it parallelly. Okay, so what is the syntax? Insert into. What is the name of the table where we want to insert? My table name is orders. Okay, orders. Then as a usual practice, when you open it, immediately close the bracket. So I'll just make it, I'll put it here in the same line. So insert into orders and the column name. So what column we have first? So the first column is order ID. So here you don't need to mention the data type and the constraint. You just need to mention the column name, because the column by default it is having the data type and the constraint, right? So column name is order ID. Then the second column name is customer underscore ID. You can also get it from the selection. And the third is product name. Okay, so once this is done, what you need to add is you need to add the value. So the syntax says put the values. Again, coming to the next section, just try to make it line by line so that it is easier for you to understand and easier for you to find the error. Which line is giving an error? Where are we missing the comma? Where are we missing the open bracket, close bracket, something like that. Okay, now what is the first value which we have? First column we have is order ID. So under order ID, what you can put is you can put the value as in the open quotation 101. Okay, then second is you have the customer ID. So let's say customer ID, I'm just making it 01. Okay, and third you have the product name. So again a string value, product name. If I want to mention, let's say the customer number 01 is ordering a laptop. Okay, so this is how your data would be entered. Clear till here, everybody, how I'm inserting the data? So if there is a customer name, it should have a single quotation. If there is a let's say custom contact name, it will again have a contact name, not number, contact name. Again, it will have a quotation because it's a string value. Address will again have a single quotation. City, single quotation. Let's say if you have country, single quotation. So all this should be in a single quotation. Okay, otherwise again you'll start getting the errors. So even we'll try doing it that way. If you're not putting quotation, what kind of an error do we receive? So once I selected this, so yes, somebody had a question yesterday. Can we select all of this together? No, you don't need to select multiple things together. When you are working with multiple select statements, you can work together. But when you are inserting something, when you are creating something, that is only a one-time activity. Correct? So you cannot run all of these statements together, but you can run multiple selects together, because what you're doing, see, it's just like a cupboard, right? If you're opening a cupboard, in the cupboard, if you want to get your wallet, if you want to get your keychains, if you want to get your t-shirts, something like that. So when you're opening the cupboard, you can access multiple things. So opening a cupboard is nothing but a select statement. Once you open it, you can retrieve whatever you want. But when you're inserting something or when you're creating something, it is only a one-time activity. That is why you cannot fire multiple create statements together. Okay. Now, under insert, I'm just going in, doing a execute. Okay, let me get a binary would be truncated in radical column first name, product name. So the syntax is string or binary data would be truncated in table radical column. Okay, so let me just do it this way. It is not taking the values. Let's change it. Just because of the trial version, let me insert it in there are multiple ways of inserting it. Let's see if this way works. Okay, same thing. Okay, so it is saying the value L will get truncated. Okay. So why this error is coming? Because the tool is very much sure that where the insert needs to happen, the insert needs to happen under the orders table, right? But now we have two more constraints here. So if I go to the Excel sheet, the two constraints which we have here is primary key and a foreign key constraint, right? So primary key and foreign key concept, both of them go hand in hand, but it is not necessary that if we have a primary key, we should have a foreign key, right? Okay, so what the error here we are getting is the tool is not able to understand just because there are multiple IDs, we need to mention one of the ID as a primary key. Okay, let's do it this way and then we'll try inserting. Now let me explain you what you mean by a primary key. So primary key is a key which will be the unique key and unique key for a particular table. Okay, and that will be helping you to uniquely identify that table in the databases. So again, a simple example. So let's say, for example, what happens is we are working in an organization. There is a director who represents the organization. There is the CEO who represents the organization, right? And then you have managers, senior managers, consultants, and then the employees. So what is the CEO and the director of the organization are doing? They are acting as the head of the family. They are unique, right? We do not have multiple we can have multiple directors, but we do not have multiple CEO and CFO of the company. Similarly, here in the table also, with the help of primary key, what we are trying to do, we are trying to make one of the column as the primary column, and that column is going to represent the entire table. Are we clear till here? What I'm trying to explain, or do you want me to repeat it? Everybody is there in the session?
Yes, clear.
Okay, okay, okay. So now what I can do is, before creating a primary key, we can have the differences between both of them, and then I can add it up here. Okay. Okay, 1 second. Now my system looks like hang. Wait. Okay. Okay. So let's get to the difference of primary key and the foreign key. Okay, so a primary key and a foreign key, we'll see both of them one by one, and when we need to use it and how it is important when we are working with the table. Okay, so primary key cannot be null. Okay, it cannot, just put it into words, cannot be null. That means it is unique. Okay, now, okay, now a primary key will always, there will be only one primary key for a particular table, only one primary key for a table. But if required, we can create a combination of primary key. So that does not mean a table will have two primary key. It will always have one primary key, but we can create one primary key with the help of multiple columns. So for example, if order ID is one of my primary key, because all the order IDs will be unique. But if somebody wants to create order ID and the first name, for example, so they can make a combination of this two, but still it will be only one primary key. This will act as a single primary key. We cannot have primary key as order ID 1 as one primary key, then second primary key would be customer name. No, if you want to have, let's say, one or two columns as a part of a primary key, we can make them as a concatenation. We can club them together. So when we are clubbing them together, this is known as the composite key. Okay, but then it is again acting as your single key only. So that means a table will have a single primary key, but it can have a combination of these two. Okay, so this is about a primary key. Okay, now let's talk about, and we cannot duplicate the primary key. That is also one difference. Okay, okay, now just let me add some spaces here. Okay, so foreign key, it can be null. It can be null, and okay, we can have multiple foreign keys in a table. Multiple in a single table. Okay, now a primary key of one table is nothing but acting as a foreign key in another table. So what I'm trying to say here is, let's say we are the residents of India, correct? If there is anybody who is coming from Australia to visit India, maybe he has come here for a normal tour, maybe he's coming to for some audit, or maybe he has come to visit the organization, something like that. So that particular person who is coming for a shorter duration from Australia to India, so what do we refer that person? We refer him as a foreigner. Okay. So similarly, when a primary key of one table is moving into the another table. So let's say if this is my table number 1, for example, if this is my table number 1, and okay, let's not do it here. I think I have a table here. Okay. So if this is my table number 1, that is my orders table. I am duplicating it here. And here what we have another table. And let's name this table as customers table. And this is my table number 2. So under customers table, we will have a customer name. I'll just update this. We will have a customer ID. And let's say customers maybe start date, product start date, rather saying customer start date. We can see when the particular product was ordered. And then followed with that, when was the product delivered? Delivered date, or other name is ship date. Okay, so fine. Now let's go and update it. Okay, so again, your customer ID would be integer, your customer name would be your character or varchar. Your start date is what? It will be what? Date means it is again a data type, which will be your date. So this is my data type as date. And again, my ship date will also be a date. Now what I'm trying to make you understand here, and one more ID we need to put it here, that is my order underscore ID. So again, order ID means it will be an integer value. So now what we are trying to understand is, here we have two tables in the databases. One is the orders table, one is the customers table. So let's say orders table is referred as 1 and the customers table is referred as 2. Now if you can see, orders ID is acting as a primary key in the first table. Now why primary key? Because that is the unique key. Why? That is a unique key, because every order which we receive from the customer, let's say if I am ordering something on Amazon, or let's say there are 10 people who are ordering some different products, so all of them will have a unique key. That is why we can consider order ID as a primary key. If somebody have a question, can we make customer ID as a unique key? Yeah, even we can go with that. But if you have a question like, can we make customer name, product name, customer age, start date as a primary key? No. Then the answer is no. We want something which is unique and something which is not null, not blank. Because many a times what happened, किसी को order ID तो मिल जाएगा, customer ID मिल जाएगा, but उसने अपना नाम करेक्ट नहीं दिया है, या फिर उसने अपना नाम का सेक्शन फिल ही नहीं किया, तो वो कॉलम क्या हो गया? ब्लैंक हो गया, null हो गया. So we want a primary key should be unique. First thing, we want a primary key, it should not be null. Right? So that is why order ID is your primary key. Now, if this is your second table, that is your customer table. Now, what is happening here? The order ID, which is the primary key in the orders table. Now we have the order ID, same order ID under the customers table. So the ID, or let's say the column which is acting as the primary key in the first table, when you get that data, get that column basically into the customer table. So this particular column, this particular ID is going to act as your foreign key. Okay, we'll do it with examples, so you'll have a better understanding. But the key which is referring from other table and coming and residing to the third table. So this is my first table. If this is order ID column is acting as a primary key here, and if you are migrating this order ID to the customer table, so ultimately the primary key of one table is going to act as a foreign key to other table. Are you clear? Again, the example, if somebody from Australia is coming to India for a shorter duration, what do we refer that person? We refer him as a foreign person. So you can have multiple foreign keys in a particular table. So let's say if we have one more table here, I'm writing a table here which is like talking about mainly, let's say the accounts or maybe customer details, anything. So this is my third table. Okay, and this will have respective column. For example, we have multiple columns there. Now one column here is account ID. Every user will have the unique account ID. right? And the account start date, when was the account started by that particular person, something like that. Okay, and what is the total count, what is the account count, or maybe the amount he is putting. So maybe let's say, for example, we have a count there. Now what is happening here, if I want to link these three tables together, that is, if I want to link my orders table, customers table, and counts table together, so we have a concept known as join types in SQL. Okay, so we have a concept which says join types in SQL. So with the help of joins type, we can connect all of these three tables. Okay, but currently what we are trying to understand, we are trying to understand the foreign key and primary key difference. So now the account ID, which is acting again as a primary key to the accounts table. But now if you want to link all of these three tables together, so ultimately what is happening, how we are linking accounts table with customers table with the help of this unique ID, that is the account ID. So ultimately, when any of the primary key of one table is traversing to another table, table number 2, table number 3, so that particular primary key of one table is going to act as a foreign key to another table. Is it clear now? So we can have multiple foreign keys in a single table, but every individual table will have only one primary key, but we can have a combination of primary key. The way I gave you the example here, we can have this combination known as the composite key, but we will have only one primary key for a respective table, and in a certain table, I mean, which is acting as your fact table. We'll see it later. So these are acting as your dimension table. This is acting as a fact table, or rather saying fact table, this will be acting as your master table. So you can just consider this as a master table. I'll just write the name here. So this is your master table where all the keys are flowing in. Okay. So where you have multiple keys flowing in, that particular table is known as the master table. Okay. So whatever is coming from multiple tables is known as the foreign key. So a table can have multiple foreign key, but it will have a individual primary key. Clear till here, everybody? Very important topics, because this is what we are going to do in future in your tools, Tableau, Power BI. These concepts are carried forward. How can you connect the tables with the help of your joins? So are we clear till here?
Yes.
Yes, clear.
Okay. So let's move to, we don't have time. I have a corporate training at 9:30. So what we can do is we can leave it till here today, and then tomorrow we'll pick it again. Tomorrow is what? Wednesday, na?
Yes.
Okay, so from tomorrow we'll pick it up. Then tomorrow I'll explain you how do we add primary key, foreign key, or maybe I can just give you a short example where we have already created primary key, foreign key. Let me just show you. 1 second. So how it looks like, I'll just show you if it is there. I have removed it, I think. Let me see. Okay, I've not created. Anyways, so from tomorrow what we will do is we will create again. We will insert is what we have done today. I mean, we have just seen. Tomorrow while doing insert, I'll also help you understand how do we add the primary key and foreign key. So this will be the condition. Insert into columns. Okay, column, and then you can have followed with your constraints here. Okay, so this will be the constraints here. Okay, so you can put the constraint 1 null, not null, and the remaining 2 constraints would be foreign key and primary key. So then you can identify which column is acting as a primary key, which column is acting as a foreign key. Then the next concept comes into picture is how you link these 3 tables together with the help of the join condition. So you have a concept which is known as join types. So you have multiple joins available. So these joins, if you're learning with SQL, it remains same with Oracle, any databases which you pick up, all the join remain same. Same join condition which we are studying in your databases. Again, same join, the method, the way they function, it will again remain same with your visualization tools also. So if you're learning joins in your databases, same joins are carried forward in your Power BI, Tableau, in any BI reporting tool. So there are 4 types of join. One is inner, then you have right join, then you have left join, and then you have full outer join. So these are going to remain same. But if I talk about Power BI, because that is the next tool we want to start. So Power BI, there are 4 plus 2. Usually we call it 4 plus 2. So there are 2 extra joins which we have in Power BI. One is right, we call it right anti, and the second one is left anti. So we don't need to bother about these two join conditions in your SQL Server. But when we go to Power BI, we are going to understand it. Again, there is only Power BI is the only tool where you have right anti, left anti. Tableau, ClickView, MicroStrategy, they don't have this 2 extra joins. Okay, all the tools globally, they have this 4 joins, that is inner, right, left, and full. So tomorrow we'll insert the data in the table first thing, then we will see how do we connect these tables together, and we will work on all of these 4 joins together. So I will be uploading an assignment. Try doing the hands-on, and if anybody is still facing the issue for the SQL download, just message me in the group. So maybe I can show you some another shortcut ways. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay. Just make sure you work on the assignment so that tomorrow we are again going with the higher concepts.
हेलो.
Yes, Suhas.
हाँ हाँ, मेरा वो आपने जैसे डॉक्यूमेंट दिया था वैसे इंस्टॉलेशन वगैरह पूरा कंप्लीट हो गया है, लेकिन वो
हाँ,
मेरे लैपटॉप में शो ही नहीं हो रहा.
सुहास देखो ना, यहाँ पे डाउनलोड में होना चाहिए आपको, ये आपने कंप्लीट किया?
डाउनलोड में है, वो प्रोसेस मैंने कंप्लीट किया पूरा.
अच्छा.
हाँ, इंस्टॉलेशन पूरा हो गया है मेरा.
हाँ, तो आप जब अभी सर्च करते हो आपको नहीं दिख रहा है ऐसे?
हाँ, नहीं दिख रहा है मुझे.
ऐसे तो नहीं होना चाहिए. ऑलरेडी आपको सेटअप दिख रहा है, इंस्टॉलेशन
ये देखो ना,
कंप्लीट।
यहाँ तक मेरा कंप्लीट हो गया है. यहाँ पे मैसेज भी आया इंस्टॉलेशन कंप्लीटेड करके. 2 बार मैंने किया है वो.
अच्छा, यहाँ तक हो गया है. अच्छा,
हाँ, यहाँ
ठीक.
तक हो गया.
एक सेकेंड. ये एक काम करो सुहास, आपका विंडोज का ये प्रेस करो आइकन.
ठीक है.
स्क्रॉल करो नीचे. वन सेकेंड. अभी ये क्लिक करो, माइक्रोसॉफ्ट सर्वर 2019, ये ड्रॉप डाउन में जाओ. हाँ, ये नीचे आओ, देखो इंस्टॉलेशन सेंटर.
ये वाला.
हाँ,
वो फिर से इंस्टॉल करने के लिए पूछ रहा है.
अच्छा, फिर इंस्टॉल ही कर रहा है.
सेम उसी पेज पे आ रहा है वो बार बार.
वन सेकेंड ना सुहास.
हाँ.
सुहास, यू गिव मी द कंट्रोल. आपके लैपटॉप का कंट्रोल दो, एक सेकेंड. मैं रिक्वेस्ट करती हूँ आपको.
हाँ, ठीक है.
हाँ, तो सुहास, मैंने जो लिंक किया ना शेयर चैट बॉक्स में, तुमने इसके थ्रू इंस्टॉल किया है क्या? चेक करो एक बार.
हाँ, किया था इसके. एक मिनट. हाँ, इसी के थ्रू किया था. यहाँ पे देखो ना, मतलब डाउनलोड में है सब मेरे. ये देखो.
अच्छा, विंडोज पे जाओ, विंडोज प्रेस करो अपना. और टाइप करो SQL.
नहीं मतलब
सुहास वापस से आप एक मिनट, मैं एक लिंक देती हूँ, एक लिंक देती हूँ, एक मिनट, चैट बॉक्स में डाला है मैंने, रुको।
ठीक है।
इसको क्लिक करो, ओपन करो, वो ऐसे लगेगा, एक बार इसको क्लिक करके ओपन करो। हाँ, ये होने दो, इसको इंस्टॉल करो।
हाँ ठीक है।
अभी हो जाएगा, एक्चुअली लग ही रहा है आपके इसमें,
ओके
है ना? तो ये होने दो और तक इसको इंस्टॉल करो, हो जाना चाहिए अब तो, अब कोई इश्यू नहीं आना चाहिए आइडियली।
ठीक है। हाँ ये नहीं हुआ था, कल मैंने मैसेज किया था ना ग्रुप में भी।
अच्छा, वो एसएसएमएस का ही था क्या?
हाँ 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 इसका ही था।
मैंने जो बोला था कि स्किप करो, क्योंकि हो जाता है आइडियली, तो नहीं हो रहा है तो यू कैन टेक अस हेल्प ऑफ दिस।
ओके
हाँ ठीक है सुहास, आई थिंक अभी हो जाएगा ये,
ठीक है ठीक है।
है ना?
ओके हाँ
मैं
हाँ
असाइनमेंट अपलोड करती हूँ, स्टार्ट वर्किंग ऑन इट, ठीक है?
ओके ठीक है।
ओके चलो, थैंक यू, सी यू टुमारो, बाय। और मैं वो लिंक का बात करती हूँ उससे, स्वप्न से, व्हाई इट इज नॉट गेटिंग अपलोडेड।
ओके
ओके, थैंक यू, बाय।